Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 3, The Burning Mill. In this episode, we're going to get to see a lot of the war moving forward, bad decisions, good decisions, and even something that feels pretty rational. But overall, the theme of this episode is just these old feuds that you even eventually forget what the incident was to set everything off, and maybe this is something that will come to pass once more with this current feud between Team Black and Team Green. So, real quick, let's go over some of the cast. Emma Darcy is Queen Rhaenyra, Matt Smith, Daemon Targaryen, Olivia Cook, Alicent Hightower. We also have Tom Glenn Carney as King Aegon the Second, Ewan Michael as Prince Aemon, Steve Toussaint, Lord Corlys. We also have Eve Best as Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, Harry Collette as Prince Jaehaerys Valerian, and let's see, we didn't see Rhys Infants as Otto Hightower in this episode, but we do have coming in Freddie Fox as Sir Gawain Hightower, and also Fabian Frankel as Sir Christian Cole. Probably the most hated character now. It's hard to, like, him and Aegon have a thing going back and forth. But I think some of the highlights of this episode was this was a bit of a slower, more quiet episode because I think we're ramping up for the next one. But it was really good at building atmosphere this time around, specifically with Daemon's storyline. We'll talk about that when I get into spoilers. And I think that was really the highlight. There's also the last scene that we have here is just so well done, so well executed. And yeah, overall, we did not stray away from the gore. We did not stray away from gratuitous violence and nudity and just everything. So, like, yeah, this show continues to deliver on what it's promised. So highly, highly recommend you check out this episode because a lot happened in the last one and big things happen in this one. We are setting up for a big, big thing. I think the next episode is going to be probably one of the biggest battles we've ever seen in a Game of Thrones thing. So let's talk about this episode, though. We're going to get into spoilers now. So if you haven't seen the episode, make sure to go check it out. We're introduced to Davos Blackwood and the conflict between the Bracken and the Blackwood, their neighboring families or lords, and they argue not only about the throne and who should be at the throne, but they have a feud going back centuries probably, right? And that's what I was talking about. The theme of this was like these old feuds that are there because they are something that it's kind of tradition, so not really because these people continue to want to be in conflict. It was very well done, but geez, we cut, like, after the initial incident, we cut to one of the goriest things I've ever seen. Some dude's got a sword through his eye, and then the field of battle is a massacre. We also see the burial for Eric and Eric, who passed last episode, as we saw in their battle. That's pretty emotional stuff. They were buried together, so that was, like, overall, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of a nice sentiment that they are at least spending their time together, their afterlife together. We also see the small council for Aegon meeting about the war, and they bring up the conflict between the Bracken and the Blackwood. It's where the title comes from, the Battle of the Burning Mill. So that was very interesting to follow through. And Sir Cole is just one bad idea, one bad move after another. He has a bad plan. And in this case, like, he wants to go to Harrenhal, take as many people as he can, and just go conquer it. Even though we'll find out who is at Harrenhal later on this episode. But when Aemon is kind of the voice of reason, you know that there's trouble. Like, that is insane. Also, we get a lot of Aegon at least trying to hype himself up to go into battle riding a dragon. Obviously, he's not. He is a sniveling coward, as we know. But we also see that Mysaria meets with Rhaenyra after she prevented her assassination in the last episode. and she asked her to join her court. And Rhaenyra really needs allies at the time. Her council sucks. We'll get into that in a second. Uh, so Rhaenyra, since Rhaena, all these names are so hard to keep track of. So I have to make extensive notes. But Rhaenyra sends Rhaena away to raise her boys and also raise some of the dragons that are still younger to keep them safe. So they are sent to Pentos or somewhere around there, away from the battle, away from everything that's going on, where all the people, where the high towers won't be able to get to them. We also see Daemon finally catching up with him and Caraxes, his dragon, as they arrive in Harrenhal to claim it, and pretty much unimpeded as he goes in. Like, this was one of those scenes that really creates that cool, eerie atmosphere. There's a lot of tension building, like the music stings rise. It's a dark, desolate castle. I think this is going to be a big turning point for Daemon, at least as far as his character goes. We do meet Lord Strong, who is related to Larys, who doesn't. He hates Larys. I think that Larys is his nephew, who is over at King's Landing, and who had his father and his brother die in a fire. But Lord Strong here does not believe. He's kind of a fun guy. It's really like his banter with Daemon is really, really fun. Because like he doesn't want conflict. He just kind of wants. He lives in a shitty place, and although even though it's a shitty place, it's a place that holds a lot of power in the kingdom. Like, right, Harrenhal is kind of one of the most important points in this battle. So it's kind of like you're stuck in the middle. Like you don't really want to fight, but you're kind of stuck in the middle of the conflict. So we see Cole and his dumb new haircut, ready to ride and meet Gawain. We meet Gawain Hightower, brother to Alicent. He's also going to ride into battle. And as we leave, as Cole and his troops sail off, we get a nice gratuitous hanging body shot from the previous episode. They're still there. Those corpses are still rotting as they hang outside the castle. It was gross. There was a crow pecking at it. Disgusting. This is where I made a note. Rhaenyra's council sucks. Just a bunch of old men that think they know way better than Rhaenyra. This must be really frustrating, right? If you are the queen, like, people should listen to you. Obviously, in this case, these guys don't. We also see a scene with Helena and Alicent where they talk a little bit about what's been going on, the kids, about the funeral, and how Helena felt that obviously she wasn't comfortable, but she also felt that all those people probably don't believe she deserves to grieve because they lose people all the time. She kind of just really moved on from losing a child. And she even says she forgives Alicent. Now, we assume it's because of, she caught her in the act with Cole. But who knows? Who knows what it could be? With Helena, you never know. We also see Larys, like, sowing some seeds of sparking some rumors about to Aegon. And this earns him. So this information, the fact that he's always been really, forthcoming towards Aegon, earns him the title of Master of Whispers, which his father did not feel the need for one. But now Larys is kind of moving up in the world. So we also follow a character named Ulf. We might have met him for a little bit in a previous episode, but we get a really cool tracking shot. I really like when shows do this whole thing where, we're following one character and it's just like a steady one shot, and we don't cut, and we keep following, and then we start following like two characters cross paths, and we continue to. It's kind of like a misdirect, right? Like that we're gonna follow this one character because we start following a woman as she goes into, going through the town, and then Ulf walks by, and then the camera switches the focus to him. He goes into a tavern where he starts telling tales of him being a half brother to him being a Targaryen. Him saying he is a half brother to Aemon, or to Aegon and Aemon. Yeah. So that's pretty interesting because I don't remember hearing about the king having any kids outside of marriage, but or I guess he's saying he's their uncle. So he's claiming to be Damon's brother, Damon and the king's brother. So that's really interesting. This is when Aegon shows up uh, to the party because the some of his Kingsguard invited him to go out with the boys for the night. Then they end up going to a brothel where holy we get real graphic. Like it's been a minute since I've seen some scenes as graphic as this. Like I'm talking about like graphic stuff. I won't even get into it. They also run into Amon because he's visiting the brothel as well as we saw in the previous episode. Man, Aegon is just a complete ass. So unfortunate. It's a really like this scene. They went all out for it. You know, uh, kudos to Ewan Michael for just going all out. Like very, you know, you get a full frontal shot of him. So like that takes a lot of um I don't want to say it, I don't know, courage or like a lot of commitment to your role to go there, right? So yeah, very, you know, kudos to him, especially because man, the internet just is the worst place. And after last episode, there was a lot of bad comments about that and body shaming. So you know, kudos to him for doing that. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, it's still a powerful scene because it really shows you how Aegon is a complete douche, even to his brother. But Aemon just really takes it in stride. He doesn't care. He moves forward, right? Um, all right. We then see Rhaenyra opening a message from Allison. She was told earlier that Allison has sent a message, and she reads it. We don't know what it says exactly, but this sparks an interest that we'll talk about in a second. We do see as well Bela, who is now kind of patrolling everything. She spots Cole and Wayne and their troops, and a really cool scene where her and her dragon chase them into the woods. Like they get away, but their position's been given away, and Bela goes back and reports this to the council. So that's like, you know, Bela really killing it there. We also catch up with Damon and Harrenhal, where he's still very distrusting of these people, right? It's just him and his dragon, so like he is pretty vulnerable when it comes to just, you know, being around people that maybe he doesn't trust. But he's having some hallucinations in front of one of those trees that have religious kind of undertones in Game of Thrones. I don't remember what they're called, but it's those trees with like they look like they have the kind of faces. And he starts hallucinating, and we get to see Millie Alcock reprise her role as a young Rhaenyra, which was really cool. Uh, it was a total horror show though, because what she was doing was sewing Jaehaerys's head back onto his little body, which was gnarly. But it was really nice to see Millie Alcock back in this role. That was nice. And then at the end of the credits, you do get to see guest starring Millie Alcock. So you know, we get one more appearance here in House of the Dragon for the Woman of Steel. We also see that Rhaenyra wants to talk to Alicent in person, and she asks Mysaria to set it up. So I do like that Mysaria's kind of become an ally for Rhaenyra. She needs people. And then I wrote in my notes because the only place where Alicent is even remotely alone, where somebody could talk to her and approach her, is the church, right? When she goes to pray. So I wrote down in my notes that Rhaenyra goes undercover because she dresses up as a septum, which I thought was really funny. So you guys let me know what you think of that joke down in the comments. But she goes and talks to Alicent, and they have a really, really deep conversation about everything that happened, everything that they're trying to prevent war, but obviously they each have their own things that they just can't go back on. One thing that I thought was really funny was Alicent speaks the words that the king said as he was dying, and this is where Rhaenyra learns that her father didn't take her throne away. He was telling the story of the prince that was promised, right? The Song of Ice and Fire. So we wouldn't have any of these issues if there wasn't like 10 different people named Aegon. So yeah, interesting. Does this? I don't know if Allison will acquiesce to the request from Rhaenyra, or if she even will believe that she misunderstood what she was saying. But yeah, at this point, Allison can't stop it. This is out of her hands. The war path. It's on its way. We do end this scene in the show with a beautiful overhead shot of the church as Rhaenyra's still there and Allison's kind of walking away. Looks really, really cool. So yeah, great episode once again for House of the Dragon. Very interesting stuff. A lot of really cool stuff that we get to explore. And the preview for the next one just seems super gnarly. So I'm very excited for next week. But if you have seen this, let me know what you thought about this episode of House of the Dragon. Let me know your favorite parts. And as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone.